Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. Thank you so much for keeping us on the air by listening. Kirk Kaplan on the ones and twos. John Ashmead is on our video. You can see it on YouTube. All right, I was doing the 100th anniversary of the Air National Guard at the Air Museum Saturday night. I was not able to watch it was awesome.
Yeah, before we get into football, let's talk about this for a second. So they had you in doing the keynote address. I don't know why they chose Rob Dibble for this.
They had two. They had two guest speakers. I had to close it out, and the guy before me, I can't remember his name. God bless him. His dad was a Medal of Honor winner. So his dad was a flying Yankee, dove on a flare and saved the crew and won the Medal of Honor. So he was up there for like 15, 20 minutes, and I'm like, how am I going to follow this guy?
I know.
In front of 600 people. Like, how am I going to follow this dude? But I was able, I told some cool stories about how I've done some different stuff with the military and how it's changed my life. But it was amazing. It was amazing. The men and women of the Air National Guard, Bill Beeler, has spent 23 years in the Air National Guard. Did not know that besides being a SWAT officer. A lot of friends that I didn't know were involved in it were there. Renee was amazing. Renee DeNino, she was one of the main MCs. Adam Rivers was doing the music. They were there. Vanessa was there as well. So iHeart was well represented there. It was an amazing event. But it was at the Air Museum. Bottom line, if you have not been to the Connecticut Air Museum, you need to go. They have every airplane, helicopter, every kind of anything that flies, anything that moves is there and represented. Was able to get inside of a B-29, which blew my mind, the Flying Fortress.
Just getting you, as big as you are, getting inside of a B-29.
Well, there's three hangars that are connected. So it was like, there's three different places where parties were going on and celebrations and things like that. So a lot of it was like a baseball game. For 2 hours, I'm walking around thinking about what I got to talk about when I get up there, and then finally you get your 15 minutes. So,
by the way, you went over the 15 minutes.
I did go over. So you guys, anybody who's betting on me going over and rambling, yes, I did. But I did tell some good stories. So,
easy bet.
Yeah,
easy.
And everybody loved it. My wife actually said it was the best speech I've ever given.
Oh, well, she's an honest.
She's an honest observer, and she's had to see many speeches that I've given. One I had to give to the Cal State Fullerton graduating ROTC class, which was not easy. I had a bunch of colonels and generals sitting behind me. At least these guys and gals were sitting in front of me, But I did, having my wife right in front of me really helped too.
Awesome.
She was able to go, okay,
cut out.
Cut and print. Get out. Anyway, no, it was a wonderful event. So I'm very blessed and honored to have been a part of it.
So while you were there,
UConn is getting smoked. Tell me what happened.
The very first touchdown was kind of the metaphor for the game. Granger is the name of the quarterback for Georgia State. And a lot of people on this particular play, they run shotgun the entire time like most college football does nowadays. And everyone had their eyes on their assignment. Unfortunately, no one's assignment was to take the quarterback, and Darren Granger just runs right up the middle of the field without being touched. And it was somewhat shocking to know this defense, to know how they're trying to clean up a lot of their miscues from NC State. And then, we give up. That was 7-0. Things all right. All right, 7-0 after the first quarter. Okay, we still can't move the football whatsoever, but okay, we're still in this game like we normally are with Coach Moore's defense and trying to scratch out first downs here and there. And then we give up another touchdown off of just some pathetic tackling. The tackling in the first 2 weeks for UConn has been subpar. And I watched NC State take on Notre Dame just to see, and that game's kind of hard to scout because it was a monsoon. It was a monsoon for a lot of college football up and down the East Coast.
And NFL.
I know that both Virginia games, Virginia Tech and University of Virginia, UVA was taking on James Madison, which was an excellent game. Virginia Tech was playing on Purdue. I think both of them were noon kickoffs that ended around 6:30. So there's some serious rain delays going on. But NC State got trounced by Notre Dame. And it didn't look like the Irish had problems with Brennan Armstrong or their running backs tackling them. Georgia State is not going to be the best team on this schedule for UConn football. We made them look like the most athletic, elusive bunch with some of our poor tackling in the first half. And I say it'd carry over to the third quarter as well.
Did we put Tyquan Roberson in the second half?
Only because injury.
Only because of injury. The kid threw for 216 yards, was 19 for 30. Is he still going to be the quarterback next week?
Depending on the injury status, I think Fignano is going to be out for next week. I don't know. That's what I want to ask Crispino on, is if he knows some of the injury status as well. I know we had a lot of players go down, offensive side of the ball, but we had some defensive guys as well.
How did he look, though, in relief?
I thought he should run the football a lot more. Honestly, I think this passing offense is something to be desired, and that's putting it very nicely. Very nicely. No one is scared of a UConn passing threat.
But we did pass for 276 yards, which is a plus.
Yes.
Better than 90.
How much of that in the fourth quarter is against Georgia State's second team? Now, I know Darren Granger, the starting quarterback for Georgia State, played all the way through the third quarter. It wasn't blowout territory all the way through until we get it to 30. I think we're at 35-7. Yeah, 35-7 before we get that other touchdown. So still, I would love to say that Taekwon gets in there and, whoa, what a big difference. It's much the same, man. We cannot throw the football with
authority.
Yeah,
be on point
we
with it.
know exactly what we're doing. You try to stop it. Like that, there's no feeling of that whatsoever. I think the RPO in the backfield takes a way too long to get through by the time that if we are throwing out of that run pass option, the pass part is coming with somebody on top of me as I'm throwing, because
Which is never easy.
The handoff in the backfield is taking way too long to set up anything that resembles play action. They got to go to the drawing board when it comes to the offense. Defense is in the right places to make plays. They just got to make them. FIU is 2-1. That's the next opponent. It's going to be at home. All right. But, however, their two come from a 14-12 win over Maine and a shootout victory over North Texas. It's not like they're world beaters either. This is a winnable ball game at home. Dare I say, crucial, must-win ball game for the UConn football team.
Yeah, I don't want to go 0-3.
You don't want to go 0-3 with Duke coming in after that. And I saw this, and I think this is even for you basketball fans that want to sell out football. I saw this over the weekend. Cooper Flagg from Maine making his recruiting visit September 22nd through the September 24th. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know what Saturday is? Duke. We can't be 0-3
Playing
Duke and get punked by the Blue Devils when the number one recruit that we're trying to get on our basketball team is watching.
I've said this before, and we certainly want to have a bunch of butts in the seats for that game as well.
And it's crucial to beat FIU when you're talking about that, Dibs. If we go and we lose to FIU, how many people are going to see a ranked top 25 Blue Devil team come in here and like, oh, man, I don't want to wear my UConn stuff and go out to the rent and get my butt kicked?
I'll be there.
I'll be there, too.
I'll be there.
No matter what happens. But still, it would be nice. It would be nice to be coming off a win on that one.
Colorado, man, I'll tell you what. Nebraska, I know the whole thing that used to be rivalries. Matt Rule's new coach. Deion Sanders, the new coach. Deion's trying to make something out of it. Yes, this is personal. Dude, you're 1-0. And, the only thing personal about this is that you and Matt Rule tried to trash talk each other, which is very difficult where Nebraska's been, where Colorado's been. I actually thought it was a fantastic game. I thought both teams got a lot of star players.
I mean, it's a lot like Michael Jordan, and, you got to make something up to give you some motivation. There are legit quotes from Matt Rule talking about Deion Sanders and how he's done things in the last couple of years that not only him, but his players can see as, man, that's somewhat of a more than football personal attack. And I love how Shedeur Sanders and the rest of the crew took it to heart. I will not miss a Deion Sanders post-game press conference. I will not. And I didn't miss this week either. And the beautiful thing about him talking about how much people took in the "This Is Personal" moniker on the week. Shador Sanders scores that last touchdown, talking to the crowd, takes his helmet off, gets the flag. Deion's running up to him. He's about to chew him out. He says, Shador, you cannot do that. Anything but take your helmet off. And Shador, and Deion's telling this story in the postgame. Shador looks at him and goes, that is personal. And then Deion just had to laugh. And he's just like, well, at least they're taking it to heart.
Right.
It's really like.
No, everything he says, they take to heart. I implore people to listen to what Deion said after the game, then the locker room speech where he had one of their 100-year-old fans that's never left the game early, even though they're getting waxed. She's like, the players got to stay. I got to play. And she was there. Then he gave game ball to her, gave game ball to the guy that hired him. But I implore you to listen to him talk about he slept in the locker room or in his office before this game. He wanted to. Now, think about all the things Deion's been through. Okay? Everything in his life in 60 years, what Deion Sanders has been through. Okay? This guy loves football, loves what he's doing enough to sleep in his office so he can see the walk out in the morning where there's nobody in the stadium to the point where it's now full and he comes out on the field. He wanted to see the transition. That's why I love this guy, because he gets it. I used to love that when I would go back to Riverfront after games, especially when I had a bad game and I couldn't sleep. I would go in there. The security would let me go in there. I would go out to the mound when there was nobody there, when it was blacked out. I've never told this story before. And it was like being in a Roman Coliseum. The only things that were lit were the exit signs, and you're in the darkness. And when I heard that, I was like, that's a genuine guy. I know him as a friend, but as someone that everybody is always like, he's all about he's posh and he's all smoke and mirrors and stuff, no substance. I think the most part about Deion is all of the substance that he's trying to give these kids, and it's not about him. And to sit there, sleep in your office, he's putting in the work. That team is totally prepared. Those coaches have these kids totally prepared. It's not easy to have three guys from last year's team on this team. That's it, 3.
Yeah.
The rest are transfers or freshmen. That is unbelievably impressive what Colorado's doing.
I think that Deion would even be taken more back if he knew what it was like in that office with that site last year. I was at the last home game.
How many people?
I could go from Deion's office, literally, I was in Deion's office. I can go right from there down the elevator to the field. I can walk up on the gate from the field just to the stands. I could sit anywhere in the stands that I'd want to sit. I could go to the student section if I wanted to go. I went to the VI. I went all over that place, no problem. Didn't take anybody's seat because nobody was sitting in it. You could go out and about anywhere that you wanted to go. Maybe you will see some other people from the other school that are there too that are having a little tailgate. Tailgates are everywhere, but they're kind of hidden, few and far between. My friends that work in the athletic department were sending me pictures on Saturday. It was a sea of people. It was a sea of people from that game was a noon kickoff from 5 a.m., which is totally different Colorado time too. Think about that. Like we're starting really early. 5 a.m., that campus, the campus, not just the part around the stadium, not just the campus was packed. Then you go to the venue, you couldn't get a seat. You couldn't move. If you were down on field level, you better back up because you might be in play. I don't know how they got so many people around that field and still had the football game. Then the game ends. It's Nebraska. You're only 2-0. It wasn't like a storming of the field, but nobody left. No one left.
They wanted to continue.
They've got Colorado State next week. That's a huge rival. That place, the whole state is going to be there. The whole state will be on that little piece of property. And what he's done with 2 victories, and really before that, before he even won a game against TCU, but what he has done to create the atmosphere that is breeding there, it's more than just that football team. It's more than just Boulder. It's a state wide vibe right now. And I don't see that locomotive stopping anytime soon, especially not against Colorado State.
No, and I did want to give Matt Rule a shout out. Very, very gracious and classy move to run across the field, because Deion, if you don't know, has like half his foot cut off because he's had different circulation problems.
He looked good this weekend.
Couldn't walk, though.
I know.
Could not walk off the field.
It was a lot better than it was
but
TCU.
He is not as mobile. You're talking about one of the fastest humans I've ever seen as a player, as an athlete.
Yeah.
And now he can barely walk. He was up there dancing with the fan in the locker room after the game and stuff like that. But for Matt Rule to run across with that 1 second left on the clock, be gracious enough in defeat to shake his hand and stuff like that, that's just, it's classy, is what I'm saying. So, that's what you've got going on. I mean, I thought Colorado-Nebraska was a must-watch game. The Texas-Alabama was a must-watch game. I thought the Michigan game was a must-watch game until I saw A-Rod at the game. Then I quickly turned it off.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Why is A-Rod on the sidelines?
I don't know.
You're a Miami guy. You grew up in Miami.
I was just going to say, this was in Michigan, not Las Vegas,
sucked up
right?
to Miami your whole life.
Yeah.
What are you doing in Michigan? What are you doing in Michigan?
Miami had a home game, right? Yeah.
I honestly think that he's trying to play with Jeter's brain.
Yeah, Miami is taking on Texas A&M over the weekend.
No,
big game. Huge top 25 win for Miami.
No reason for him to be in Michigan other than he's sucking up to somebody.
The quarterback, that Van Dyke kid, that, if you're talking Jordan Travis for Heisman, you might as well throw him in the mix too. Does A-Rod know that? A-Rod.
Anyway, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do Dibbles and Bits next.